It was Christmas Eve, and a little girl was sleeping on a pile of trash in the freezing cold. What happened next will stay with you forever. Marcus Reed had everything: a penthouse apartment in Manhattan, a company worth $3 billion, a driver who picked him up every morning at exactly 7:15. His life ran like a machine, perfect, clean, and completely empty inside. That night, December 24th, Marcus was leaving his office, late, again. His team had gone home to their families hours ago. His assistant had left a card on his desk that said, "Merry Christmas." Mr. Reed, he didn't even open it. He just grabbed his coat and walked out into the cold. The streets of New York were covered in snow. People rushed past him with shopping bags and red cheeks, laughing, hurrying home. Marcus put his head down and walked toward his car. He had no plans. No family dinner, no tree, just a quiet apartment and a bottle of expensive whiskey waiting for him. That's when he saw her, down a side alley, half hidden behind a mountain of garbage. Bags and broken cardboard boxes. A little girl, maybe 7 years old, wearing a thin pink coat that was soaked through with snow. And curled right beside her, keeping her warm with his body heat, was a golden dog. Scraggly, dirty, but loyal as anything. That dog wasn't going anywhere. Marcus stopped walking. Most people had passed that alley without even looking in. But something made him stop. Maybe it was the dog. Maybe it was the pink coat. Maybe it was something deep inside him that still remembered what it felt like to be small and alone. He walked closer. The girl's eyes opened. She didn't scream. She didn't run. She just looked at him with these big, calm brown eyes like she had already seen the worst the world had to offer and wasn't afraid anymore. Marcus crouched down in the snow, in his $1,500 suit. Right there in that dirty alley, he said, "Hey, you okay?" She shook her head slowly. No. He asked her name. She said Lily. He asked where her parents were. And that's when she said something that cracked him straight down the middle. She said, "My dad's gone. My mom went to get help 3 days ago." She didn't come back. 3 days. This child had been out here for 3 days. In December. In New York City. Marcus called 911 immediately. But while they waited, he sat down right there next to her in the snow. He took off his coat, his big, heavy winter coat, and wrapped it around both Lily and the dog. The dog sniffed his hand, then put his chin on Marcus's knee like he was saying thank you. The paramedics came. Social services came, and Marcus followed them to the hospital. He didn't go home that night. The doctors checked Lily over. She was cold, hungry, and exhausted, but she was going to be okay. The dog, who Lily called Biscuit, was taken by an emergency vet team nearby. Also going to be okay. Marcus sat in that hospital waiting room for 6 hours. He doesn't really know why. Something just wouldn't let him leave. And while he sat there, the nurses started to piece together Lily's story. Her father had passed away from cancer 8 months earlier. Her mother, completely broken by grief, had started struggling with addiction. They had lost their apartment. And 3 days before Christmas, her mother had walked out saying she was going to find a shelter for them and never came back. The police would later find her, mother in a hospital. Across town where she had collapsed from exhaustion and hadn't been able to tell anyone about Lily. Here's the part that nobody talks about when they share this story. When Lily's mother finally woke up and was told her daughter had been found, she didn't cry relief tears. She just whispered, "Biscuit stayed with her, didn't he?" And when they said yes, she smiled for the first time in months, because she had known. She had known that dog would never leave her little girl alone. Now, Marcus Reed was not a man who got emotional. His employees literally had a joke that he was powered by caffeine and spreadsheets. But something about this whole night had ripped something open inside, of him that he hadn't even known, was closed. See, Marcus had grown up poor. Very poor, he just never talked about it. He had spent so many years running from that version of himself that he had built walls 10 feet thick. He had turned himself into someone who felt nothing, needed nothing, asked for nothing. And here was this 7-year-old girl who had lost everything, and she still had more warmth in her eyes than he'd had in years. He started quietly paying for Lily's mother's rehabilitation. He didn't announce it. He didn't post about it. He just set it up through his assistant and said, "Don't tell anyone." He also made sure that Biscuit, that scruffy, loyal, wonderful dog, was allowed to stay in the recovery facility with Lily's mother. He apparently had to make several very large donations to make that happen. Worth every penny, he said. Over the next few months, Marcus started changing. Small things at first. He started actually learning his employees' names, not just their job titles. He started leaving the office before 8. He started calling his own estranged sister for the first time in 11 years. He told one interviewer later, "That little girl didn't teach me to be generous. She reminded me that I used to be." Studies actually show that acts of witnessing kindness, not even doing it yourself, just seeing it, can trigger something called moral elevation in the brain. It's a real psychological term. It makes people want to be better. It literally changes behavior. That night in the alley did exactly that to Marcus. He didn't just help a child. A child helped him. Lily and her mother were reunited 4 months later. They were given stable housing through a nonprofit Marcus quietly funded. Lily started 2nd grade. Biscuit got a bath, a new collar, and apparently became the most popular dog in their entire apartment building. And Marcus? He sold 15% of his company and used the money to launch a winter emergency program across 5 American cities, specifically designed to find people sleeping outside on cold nights and get them safe before temperatures dropped below freezing. He named it the Biscuit Project. Yes, after the dog. That first year, the program helped over 4,000 people. He still doesn't talk about it much. He actually turned down 3 magazine covers about it. His only comment in a short interview was this: "I walked past problems my whole life because I told myself they weren't mine to solve. Turns out they were. They always were. Here's what gets me every time I think about this story." Marcus could have kept walking. Thousands of people had already walked past that alley that night. He was tired. He had a warm car waiting. He had places to be, even if those places were empty and silent. But he stopped. And that one moment, 10 seconds of choosing not to look away, changed the direction of his entire life. It saved a little girl. It reunited a mother and her daughter. It eventually helped thousands of strangers stay warm and alive through brutal winters. One choice, one freezing night. That's all it took. You never know which moment is going to be the one that changes everything. For Marcus, it was a pink coat in a dark alley on Christmas Eve. For you, it might be the very next moment you choose to slow down instead of rushing past. If this story hit you the way it hit me, watch the next video playing on your screen right now. You won't regret it.